why is this background actually the cutest thing? Like the pumpkins, I mean the cushions are they could be a bit better, but I've just been sat there reading all day. But welcome back to my channel. I thought I would do a monthly reading recap. I'm going to start doing these once a month, I think. So this is my August reading recap for 2024. And yeah, I want to do one once a month. I normally include these in my vlogs, but I don't know, I love talking about books. So even if there's one person that just wants to know what I've read and wants to talk about books, then this is for you. I read 16 books this month, which is actually on the lower end of books, but I feel like I read a lot of fantasy, and I feel like, as you know, fantasy books are like, they're long. These books are long. So I'll go through all of the actual books that I have, and then I can talk through all the Kindle ones. But I feel like I literally had a month where I read all fantasy books, and I read like all, I feel like the top ones that everyone has been talking about recently. So I'm really excited to talk about them now, because I feel like I was late to the trend of like all these books. Let's talk firstly about Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I loved this book. I rated it 4 out of 5. The only downside of this book is that I feel like it was just like the writing style and how I felt about the characters, really. Like, I don't really want to spoil anything, but I feel like there were certain things in this that I didn't really care about. But if this was written differently and I had more towards the characters, I feel like this book could have been sad for me, if that makes sense. And I feel like, I don't know, there was just something slightly missing for me to give it any more. But if you haven't read this book, I would recommend it. I'm really picky with books. I don't really rate a lot of books a 4-star. Normally books for me, the norm is like a 3.75, like a 3.8 kind of thing. That's like, I enjoyed you, but I don't think I'd pick you up again kind of vibe. And if it's a 4-star, it's like, okay, you've actually made me feel something. But yeah, this book is about like, it's kind of giving like Divergent and Hunger Games. They have like elites and like, just, I don't know. I feel like they have like elites who clearly like have money, have power, blah, blah, blah. And then people that have like lesser power, they're kind of struggling. And they have people called ordinaries, which I kind of like Divergence. Like, they don't really like them existing because I think they think it like dwindles the power of the elites, even though I don't really think it does. I don't know who put that in their heads, but that is the kind of vibe. But yeah, it's about a girl who goes into like the Hunger Games kind of setting that they have, because I think they actually, I'm not gonna lie, you know, when you put a book down and you're like, I can't really remember the whole plot, I think that you kind of vote for people. So in her area, which she is not an elite, she's kind of like bottom of the barrel, trying to steal things and rob people for food and other things. But yeah, she saves the prince, and everyone decides, okay, like, we're putting you in the games then. So it's kind of her like going through the like Hunger Games, but in this kind of setting, but as like hiding that she's an ordinary. And I don't know, I feel like there's such good, like, this is a such good plot. I love this book, and I feel like I don't really care about spice. Like, this has no spice in it, and that is like completely fine. Like, I'd prefer like a stolen touch or like glances and like a proper build up to something. But yeah, 4 stars, really enjoyed this book. I feel like I don't know if I explained that very well. It's kind of hard to explain a book without wanting to. Also, when you close a book, for me, I'm like, okay, I can't remember a lot about that. But also, I don't want to ruin it. But if you're into like Hunger Games, I feel like it's quite similar to a lot of fantasy books out there with like the Hunger Games style kind of thing. But I just like the fact that they have like the ordinaries in here, like the Divergent side, that like they aren't really allowed to exist and they're kind of rebelling. I don't know, I really, really love this book. But yeah, I haven't read Reckless yet, but I do have it. I have bought it. I'm just getting through ACOTAR at the minute, and I don't know, I'm going to Center Parcs in like 2 weeks, so I kind of want to save the actual like paperback books that I have to take there rather than on my Kindle. But yeah, 4 stars for me. Next, this was the last book that I read this month. So that's why the rest of this series is not in this video. But I was really unsure. I've wanted to pick up this book for like the past year, that like my reading journey kind of kicked back up again. And because on the back of it talks about her like killing a wolf, I was like, oh, I don't really like that. But I gave it a go because I feel like it's kind of different when it's kind of like a wolf shifter fae kind of thing. But I don't know what I'd rate this book, because when I first read it, I was like, I don't really get the hype, like as I was reading it, because you kind of see on TikTok who she ends up with. So when I was reading the first part of this book, I was like, okay, am I wasting my time? But I feel like the last 75% of it, when everything is happening, I don't know, it sold me. And when I first read this book, I was like, oh, I feel like I'd give it a 3.75. But I feel like this is the kind of book where I've put it down and I just like, I want to reread it. And like, I have like reread the last like 75%, even though I haven't even finished the series. I feel like I'd have to give it 4 stars. I don't know. I just really enjoyed this book, and I love Rhysand in this book. Like the last like 75%. But yeah, basically, and like the twists in this book. But yeah, Feyre is like going out hunting. She needs to get food for her family because they've gone poor and they're all humans. And she ends up like killing a fae when she's not really, I think like it's illegal, or like they're not allowed to kill, I don't know. Again, I don't know the logistics, but it just says this on the back of the book. But it's about her like being taken away and having to live in the fae like realms, and obviously like leave her family. It's just like, it's kind of like world building, but also like, I don't know, I feel like it's her character like building, where like she was just like this human that was like looking after her family, and now she's like having to live with fae, and like she's in this new life. And then you find out like there's a curse that needs to be broken. 4 stars. I feel like I would give this book more if the first like, I don't know, if the first, I don't know, honestly, it's like the last 75%, like 75% of the way in, that last quarter is so good. But I do think the rest of it is really slow, I'm not gonna lie. And like, yeah, I don't know. I also, yeah, she's kind of like with someone in this book, and I don't get why people like him, because as soon as you meet the other guy, she literally says, that is the most beautiful man I've ever seen, like the villain. And I'm like, how can you think that she like would ever be with someone else when that is a line in this book? I feel like that's a bit of a spoiler, to be honest, but I feel like everyone and their mum has read this book. But yeah, I'd definitely give this a 4 stars. Really enjoying it. It's my first like book I've read from Sarah J Maas, and I feel like I really want to pick up the Throne of Glass series next, or Crescent City, one of them. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it, to be fair. But I feel like a lot happens in the last, it's kind of like Paranormal Activity. Like, you know, where everything just happens at the end. But yeah, I did really enjoy this book. I don't even know how to explain these 2 books, because this is the best book that I've ever read. And I didn't think anything would top Culty for me, like the way Culty makes me feel. This book, this series, because I have to rate them both a 5 star, but this book is like a 10 out of 5. Like, this is the best book I've ever written. It's written. What did I just say? Written? I meant to say read. I clearly did not write this book. My brain doesn't work like this. Nothing compares to these books, and I don't think anything ever will. I love this series with like all my heart. I can't. I don't even know, like, I don't have words to describe this series. Like, as soon as I finished reading them, I had to listen to them straight away on Audible. But yeah, this is Fourth Wing and Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I don't really know how you pronounce that. But it made me feel like Harry Potter. And I love Harry Potter so much. And you only like, I feel like I'm in the world of Harry Potter. I feel like I literally get like so invested in this world. Like ACOTAR does not compare to this for me. And I wish it did, but it doesn't compare. This is like, best thing I've ever read. But yeah, if you have like Fourth Wing and you're really contemplating reading it, just read it. It's about a school in a place called Basgayev. I don't know if the school's actually called Basgayev or the place, but again, I put it down now. I've not like come back to it in 2 weeks and my brain's a bit. But they have like different quadrants in this school. So I think when you turn 20, you can be like a scribe, infirmary, a healer, a dragon rider, and the main girl. It's all basically, there might be some bonus chapters in someone else's point of view, but it's all from Violet's point of view. And her mum is like the general of this school, and she's like, I know that you've trained all your life to be a scribe, just like your father, but sadly, you like 6 months before, she's like, you're being a dragon rider. And it's just like, I can't believe that her brain did this. But yeah, I feel like I could read this. If I had to only read one like book or one series for the rest of my life, it would be Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. And I can't wait for the next book in January. I also need to get a better cover. I took this to Belgium with me and took it everywhere. Like every time we were on any sort of public transport, I was not talking to Owen. He was getting ignored because I could not put this down. Or I had to buy Iron Flame on my Kindle for like £12 just to read it on the plane home, because I was like, no, I can't wait. But yeah, like, it's just like, when you read it, everything that happens, like the parapet, the gauntlet, like the war games, it's like being in a school, but like, it's kind of like Harry Potter, but even darker. Like, the first like chapter of this book is that they have to like climb up all these steps and walk across like a stone, I don't know, walkway that's like one place to like the school. And like, if you just fall off, like, you're dead. Like, there's so like, it's like you have to do loads of tasks, and like people die along the way, and like it's just crazy. And they just commend their souls to Malik, who's like the god. And it's just like, yeah, I feel like it's like Harry Potter but like dark, and they don't really care about death at this school. But yeah, I don't really want to spoil it, but I feel like a lot of people say that this is kind of like enemies to lovers, and I feel like I wouldn't say they're enemies, but I feel like they should be enemies, but they aren't, kind of vibe. And I feel like, again, it's quite a slow burn. There is like heavy romance throughout, but I feel like it doesn't like dictate away from the actual plot, and it's just amazing. But yeah, I'm obsessed. So obsessed with that series. I'm obsessed with anything at the minute that is fantasy. So if you have any recommendations that made you feel like Fourth Wing, and to be fair, ACOTAR, like as I'm reading through it, I do think it is an amazing series, but nothing compares to Fourth Wing. And yeah, love Violet, love Xaden, I love the inner circle in ACOTAR, but like Riddick, like Rhiannon, Sawyer, like everyone in this book, and like how the characters make me feel, it's like I want to be in this book. I'd probably be dead, but I want to be there. So they're all the paperbacks. Well, they're not all paperbacks. They're all the actual physical copies of books that I've read this month, and then all the rest were on Kindle. But yeah, I think there was only 3 books that I actually read this month that weren't fantasy, which is actually crazy to me. But yeah, the first 4 books are by Zoe Draven, and it was her Horde King series. I've wrote them to the side, so sorry if I'm looking. It's like an alright series. I read the first book in that series and I didn't finish it, and I thought it was boring 40% of the way through. But then I read the rest of them and I did enjoy it. It's kind of like, I don't really know how to explain them. There's these like Horde Kings. They have their own hordes. They have to go through like whipping and like horrible things to even become like a Horde King. And they have like, I feel like humans kind of like aren't living the best, and they kind of get taken by these Horde Kings in like one way or another. Maybe they owe them something. Maybe they've been taken and they kind of like end up falling in love. They're like not as serious as books, you know, like all the ones that I just showed, but they're kind of like fun fantasy reads. that are all on Kindle, to be fair. But yeah, they're okay. They're like, okay, like they're a fun read, but I wouldn't pick them up again. But yeah, the ones I read this month were Madness of a Horde King, Broken by the Horde King, Taken by the Horde King, and Throne of the Horde King. I gave all of them a 3.5. Other than Broken by the Horde King, I gave a 3. I feel like the others just had a bit more and kept me like a bit more invested in the plot. Again, right now, what was that plot? I don't know. But I feel like I've read some of Zoe Draven's other books, and like I do quite enjoy her as like a fantasy reader. But yeah, I would pretty much read any fantasy books. Like I've read Ice Planet Barbarians, anything to do with orcs, wolf shifters, vampires, dragon shifters. Like I'd pretty much read anything as long as it's like fantasy. I feel like this year I've just been obsessed with anything fantasy. Even if they're not as popular, like if you have any recommendations, let me know. And then the next book that I read was Quicksilver. And I obviously read this because if you're on BookTok, I feel like this is everywhere on BookTok at the minute. And when I saw that it was like nearly 700 pages long, I was like, but I think it was worth it. I gave it a 4 stars. It's by Callie Hart. And oh, I just loved it. It's kind of like, the start of it is giving Hunger Games, where they have like different realms for humans. I think she's in realm like 13 or something, like really low down. She goes to steal something from one of the higher realms, or like where the queen is. And in the end, I think like she kind of gets caught, and I don't really know what she does. It's like she takes something or does something with metal or like a sword or something. It kind of opens this world to like a fae world, and she gets like taken into this fae world, and it's like, it's just incredible. Like I love Kingfisher. I loved the whole plot, and I don't know, I feel like it's so good, and it's really funny as well. Like I can't spoil bits, but I just loved the characters. Like all the characters, all the plot, it was just really good. I gave it a 4. I had to take like 1 down because I don't know if I would definitely reread it. I don't know if I would rate it higher next time, but it was just a bit slow in some areas for me, where I feel like I was less engaged. Like I feel like some of the like bigger books that I have read, even though they are big, I'm still really engaged in the story. But there was just some parts of it where I was like, but yeah, it's basically her like living in this fae like universe, and like she's trying to like get back home, she's trying to help them. It is such a good plot, and I feel like I was laughing at it. I was just really enjoying it. I loved like the romance in it, but loved like the story and the plot and everything else, and I would highly recommend it. But yeah, 4 stars from me. It's actually a bit sad. I honestly feel like I could probably name every single book that I've rated. I've read nearly 600 books. My Goodreads is Lorraine Dewhurst, just in case you want to have a look and we become friends. But yeah, I feel like I don't really rate books a 5 star. They can get close, but I'm just really picky with 5 stars. I'm really picky with any stars, to be honest. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. The next 3 books, really, I actually like need to remember what happened in these books. But yeah, the first 2 were by Jessica Grayson, and they're claimed by the Dragon King and bound to the Elf King. And I'm pretty sure in these books, I rated them both like a 3.5, and I did, was it a 3? A 3, like 3.5. Like I did enjoy them, but I don't think I would read them again. And yeah, I think it's about these like cousins in both the books. I think they are related somehow, and they kind of have like a magical sense about them, and they see things, and they kind of, I don't know if they predict the future, but they have kind of like a psychic sense about them. But it's set in like olden times where they'd think you were a witch and they'd burn you alive, so you can't really tell anyone. But she tries claimed by the Dragon King, I think she tries to warn her uncle that his new like wife is an evil thing that's in that world that I can't remember the name of. Like something beginning with M, I want to say. But yeah, she's evil. She ain't no good. He doesn't believe her because I think his new wife has like kind of put a spell on him. and she is about to be burnt to the stake, and then this dragon is like, okay, that is my mate. We're not doing anything to this woman. Which I did enjoy the book, to be fair. Again, I feel like in some areas I was slightly a bit bored. The writing wasn't like the best, and I didn't fall in love with the characters. And it is a similar plot for Bound to the Dark Elf King as well. They're kind of like similar plots, like fated mates, war going on, like interconnected standalones. But I think I would carry on with the series, and I did enjoy it. But they're kind of like a quick, like easy read if I just want to read something and not really think too much about it. But I don't really mind books like that at all. Like, again, enjoyed them, probably wouldn't read them again. Just because they didn't make me feel like, oh my God, like amazed after it. They just made me feel like, oh, that was nice. Next, I read Bride of the Fae Prince, and I'm not gonna lie, I did rate it 2 stars. It's by Anastasia Blythe, I want to say. Bride of the Fae Prince. That's the series name as well. But yeah, I did rate it 2 stars. I'm not gonna lie, I did finish this book because I took it, like I downloaded it on my Kindle, like on the Kindle app, so I had to finish it on the plane, or I had nothing else to do. But yeah, it's basically like this Fae prince has been told that he has to marry, but I think his dad actually like wants to kill him and actually hates him, and he killed his mother, and it's all a bit dark, so he kind of goes against every single woman that his father wants him to marry, and he picks a human, and it's kind of like them falling in love, this war going on, like he's kind of got her to be a pawn in a game, and he kind of regrets it. And yeah, I just didn't really feel any chemistry between the characters. I didn't feel like a need for them to be together or anything, but yeah, I feel like it really lacked like the romance side, but I did like finish it. It was okay, but yeah, I just feel like it really lacked any emotion, any like chemistry for me. I feel like sometimes, I don't know, I feel like it really annoys me when characters lack chemistry, because I'm like, you could have been such a good plot. Like, I love the fantasy plot, which is why I didn't rate it like no stars. But yeah, not my favourite book. Wouldn't read it again. I don't think I would continue with the series. But you never know. I feel like sometimes the first book in the series isn't always the best, and you just have to push through. That is all of the fantasy books that I read. So I read 3 other books, and I'm not gonna lie, the first one I did rate a 1 star, and I feel like I still stand by it. And I'm gonna have to rate it a 1 star because I finished the book, and like, but I just don't know how I feel about it. I love a dark romance. God of Malice, one of my favourite books. And let me just say, the first few chapters of that are crazy. I love a dark romance, especially like in between. I feel like in fantasy books, men can be a lot darker, and I feel like enemies to lovers can be a real thing. And like sometimes in the middle of that, where I want a break from a fantasy world, like a dark romance kind of like keeps me going. But yeah, I read The Ritual by Chantel Tessier, I want to say. And I had to rate it a 1 star because it was just so weird. I feel like there's like dark romance, and then there's just like porn in a book, where like there's so much going on that I feel like I did not care about the characters, did not care about the plot, but I just kept reading because I kind of wanted to know what happened and see if it got better. But it wasn't a bit of me. It's kind of about these men that are all called like lords, and they have to do stuff, and they get like chosen ones. I do kind of get why people like it if they're really into like smutty things, and like, I don't know, this isn't really like a dark romance for me, where like the Alliance series by S.J. Tilly, where like they are bad men, but like they do anything for like their girl kind of vibe. I really like stuff like that, or like even a mafia romance, but this just did not hit the spot at all. But I've heard like people that absolutely love this book, so I wanted to give it a go. But yeah, it wasn't a bit of me, and that's okay. I just wasn't really into like the whole lord thing. I don't know, and I think he was like a senior in college or something. It felt more like cringe than dark romance for me. Like, I just felt the book was really cringy. So I just don't think I could rate it over a 1, which I feel like is kind of harsh, but like, I feel like that book is really like split. Like, I feel like you either really love it or you don't like it. But yeah, the next 2 books that I read were more fluffier romance books. So I read Rally by Devney Perry, which came out, I want to say this month. I feel like I read it like a week after it came out. But yeah, I gave that a 3 stars. Just because I actually don't mind an accidental pregnancy book. It's kind of like a girl and a guy in college, I want to say, accidental pregnancy, they kind of become friends, kind of want more. But yeah, I don't know, I didn't really like his friend in it. I felt like the 2 people didn't have a lot of chemistry. I kind of wanted a bit more. I feel like I loved like the first part of the book where like they kind of met, like her tire was flat and he was like helping her, and then like, yeah, I don't know, I feel like I just wanted more from the first part of the book. And I feel like more throughout, to be honest. Like, I just felt myself not really caring about the characters and feeling like there was a real lack of chemistry. But yeah, I actually love like accidental pregnancy, so I thought I'd love that book, but it didn't really hit the spot for me. But like I said, I feel like I read it, I was like, oh, that was a nice read, but like I probably wouldn't think about it and probably won't pick it up again. But like Devney Perry is like, I love so many of her books. I feel like this one just was not for me. And the last book was Delicate Escape by Catherine Cowles. Again, I think I rated this like a 3.5. It didn't hit the spot for me, but I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like a lot of her books are really similar, and I feel like I'm not getting a difference between the books. And I get their writing styles and some people do the same things, but I feel like all her books are so similar that I've already like kind of read the plots. Like I've read them, I kind of know what happens. Nothing like excites me about the book, but I did enjoy it. And like I liked the kind of like development between, like it was kind of more of like a slower burn, which I did enjoy between the characters. But yeah, again, I wouldn't really think about it that often, but I think it was the second book in her new series that she's come out with, and it was about Shepherd, and oh god, I can't remember the woman's name for the life of me, but it was like she was kind of like on the run and she'd been really badly burnt by her ex who's famous, and she needed to get away. She didn't trust anyone, so I feel like it was really nice seeing her like trust again. And like I really like the found family aspect in this new series. It's like these people adopted all these children, they're like a really close family unit, and I feel like each book is like all of them finding love. Obviously this is only book 2 in the series, but that's kind of the way it's going. And yeah, it was really good, but again, I wouldn't pick it up again. I don't know, I feel like I love Catherine Cowles. I feel like she has some amazing books, but I feel like the last few books that I've read by her, they're all so samey, and I feel like I'm just like, oh, I kind of know what happens. And I feel like she always writes the same line where it's like, if you know her books, something always happens. Someone's getting run off by a car, someone's getting shot, and she always writes a line that's like, and then she faded into darkness and that was it. And I end up laughing at the line because I'm like, oh, that was coming. Like, I feel like I just don't feel as much anymore for her books, which is really sad. But yeah, I feel like I need something different. I need her to change. I need her to change the plots, please. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to carry on with this series because the last book, again, I think was like, it was just okay. I feel like a 3 is like, you're just okay. So they were all the books that I read in August, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you rated them as well, or if you have any books that you can let me know that were really good and are quite similar to these books, because I'm always looking for book recs, and I'm on the last book of ACOTAR, and I feel like I need something else after it to keep me going. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you soon. Bye.